What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I am going to show you today just a faith build that I've been using on New Game Plus 3. Now, this build is just a lot of fun overall. There's nothing too crazy about it. I do really enjoy the spells and incantations that I have put into this, and it just feels great. We're going to battle this guy real quick, and then I'm going to show you exactly what I'm working with. But you just do so much damage with this particular build, it's a little bit ridiculous. So let's go ahead and get into what exactly I have on, my talismans, my weapons, gear, all of that kind of stuff. So right away, you're going to see I'm using a Sacred Relic sword. Like I said, this is New Game Plus 3, so the majority of the things that I'm wearing are leveled up all the way as far as they possibly can be. But the main reason I'm using the Sacred Relic sword is because the AoE damage for this weapon is out of control. Plus, I'm using talismans that boost my holy attack and also increase the proficiency of my incantations. So my holy damage with this particular build is just awesome. I love it. It's a ton of fun to use, and it helps me clear out a ton of guys when everyone's really close, and it isn't too bad for boss fights either. As you can see here, between the sword and some of my other incantations, this worm has literally no chance, and it actually goes down decently quick. So speaking of incantations, let's actually take a look at what I'm currently using. Like I said, these may not be the best incantations, but they are a lot of fun to use, and I keep going back to them over and over and over again. So right now, we're going to be doing the Stone of Gorak, and I don't think I'm saying that correctly, but this is a really fun incantation to use. You just pick up boulders from right under your feet and you chuck them at the enemy. A really great thing about this, though, is that it has the potential, at least in my testing that I've seen, to stagger the enemy. So this is super helpful, especially when you're doing the majority of your attacks ranged. This allows you to run up, getting that really great stagger attack off so you can get the sword backstab in and get a ton of damage on the enemy. The next is Pest Threads. Now, this is neither a great spell or a bad spell. It's just kind of in between, in the middle of the road. What this is going to allow you to do is it's going to allow you to shoot a bunch of threads from your back and hit the enemy. It's a great ranged attack, doesn't do a ton of damage, but it allows you to get a little bit of damage on the enemy while you're either closing in or they're closing in on you. The next thing I got here is the Golden Vow. Now, the Golden Vow is great because it allows you to boost attack and defense for yourself and for allies. So this is something that I'll typically do before I fight a boss or before I go into a dungeon, just to give myself a little bit of an increase in my stats. It's really great, works well for me, and it helps overall with the damage of my current build that I'm using. The next incantation I'm using is the Flame of Frenzy. Now, the Flame of Frenzy is either hit or miss. It either does a ton of damage right off the bat, or it really doesn't do that much. I like it because it builds up madness in the enemies, and if you hit them a bunch of times, it will do damage, kind of like Bleed does damage, where it takes off a big chunk of their health and it kind of makes them go crazy. So that's a really great one for the area of effect. And since the weapon already does area of effect damage, you just kind of feel like you're a massive faith caster where you're doing damage to everyone on the battlefield. And for the last incantation that I'm using, this is Aspects of the Crucible Tail. Now, what this is going to do is it's going to allow a giant faith incantation tail to swing from behind you and crush the enemies that are in front of you. I believe you get this one from a Crucible Knight, but I could be wrong. I enjoy this one. It's just great for a quick sweep of the tail, getting a bunch of enemies in front of you. And also, I believe this one does have the ability to stagger as well. Let's talk talismans. So I'm using the Golden Scarab for the sole reason of just gathering more souls. The more souls you have, runes. The more runes you have, the more levels you can get, the more armor and weapons you can upgrade. It just makes sense, especially for New Game Plus, to have this equipped for me. The next one I'm using is Sacred Scorpion Charm. Now, this is going to raise the holy attack like I was talking about before, but it lowers damage negation. So you're going to take more damage with this, but you are also going to do more damage as a faith user with holy damage like I have set up for this particular build. The third talisman is going to be the Dragon Crest Shield Talisman. This is going to vastly boost physical negation damage. So pretty much what this is going to do is if somebody hits you, it's not going to do as much damage. So you could argue that these two might cancel each other out with lowering damage negation and then also boosting damage negation. So until I do a little bit more testing, I'm going to remain kind of unsure about that one. So the last talisman that I'm using is going to be the Phlox Canvas Talisman. This is going to greatly rise the potency of my incantations. What that means is pretty much any incantation I use, it's going to make it more and more powerful. So that's the reason I'm using this one. Obviously, with incantations and faith, it just goes hand in hand. So those are the 4 slots that I have filled with the 4 talismans I'm using. So the next thing I want to talk to you guys about here is summons. Now, I know the Mimic tier is massive. I use that one, and also the Black Knife Tish because it's just a god. But I also use Banished Knight Oleg at level 10. He is a workhorse. He's got dual weapons, he has frost damage, and he just wrecks house typically. I haven't hit this guy once, and my summon is just sitting here tearing him to pieces. He's got a ton of armor, great attacks, he can hit a AoE, which is that spin that you just saw, and overall he's just a hoss. I love him. So the last part of my build that I haven't mentioned yet is my talisman that I'm using. So I'm using the claw mark seal at plus 25. The reason I'm using this currently is because I'm using a lot of beast incantations, but I also don't have the holy one all the way leveled up. So if you're going to use holy damage, and probably would go better with this overall, but the holy damage talisman is actually going to be right here, the Erd Tree Seal. So if you get this all the way to plus 25, this is going to make your holy damage just go through the roof. So obviously I think I should be using this one, but because I haven't leveled any of them up except for the claw mark seal at plus 25, this is going to give my beast incantations a much harder hit, which is why I have the tail and the stone throw. Both of those are beast incantations, and it makes him just hit like a truck. So, like I said, if you want to do maximum holy damage, which I'll probably end up leveling up anyway, you're going to want the Erd Tree Seal just to get that extra damage on you if you want to add more holy damage. Alright guys, that's it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I have really enjoyed making this for you. This is my first guide video, or my first build video, I should say, for Elden Ring. So if you enjoyed the content, make sure to hit that bell notification so you can know when I'm making more content, as well as hit that subscribe button. It would mean a ton for the channel, and I'd love to make more Elden Ring content for you guys. If you want to see more of this kind of stuff, I do stream over on Twitch Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. So make sure to head over there at 7:30 Eastern, and until next time guys, I'll see you then.